Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Before we get started, I do want to remind everyone this is a time of year where we do all take some time off. My last show of the year will be Thursday, not Friday. We've got a preschool stuff going on, Christmas parties, all that fun stuff. And I am a mom as well. Okay, so kids come first. Not sorry about it. But Thursday will be the last show of the year. And then after that, we will see you guys in January. I want to welcome to the show. We've got Logan Hall, of course, Blaze Media's digital strategist and recent husband. So yes, congrats again. It's funny. He showed up and I was like, I like your shirt. And then I was like, did your wife pick it out? Because I can say that now, but he said no.
Yeah. Well, she picks out some of my clothes, but I'm pretty stylish myself.
Yeah. I get credit for this one. Also joining us, of course, longtime married Blaze contributor Eric July.
And my wife buys me everything.
I do that too.
I don't pick out nothing.
And you love it, right?
Yeah. Like I don't know. Like by now, I think my entire closet is just full of stuff she's bought me.
Yeah.
I just pick it, like whatever.
Yeah. Now I'm sure that you have your own.
Get there one day.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you have your own sense of fashion. You clearly do. Mine does not. So I've just had to take over that chore. And honestly, he doesn't mind at all.
No, I mean, I think I don't mind at all.
He's like, can you just tell me what to wear? I'd like for you to just pick out my outfit for me because I
don't need to go that far, but you need to buy all the stuff.
So, all right. So before we get into, I hate to take it down, but there was a lot of heavy stuff that has happened and kind of details that have come out over the last 24 hours over in Madison, Wisconsin. And I do want to get to some of the moving parts and then some of what we know, what we don't know, and what it means. So yesterday morning, obviously we talked about it yesterday, a school shooter at Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, Wisconsin, injured 6 and killed 3 people, including herself. We did find out much later on in the day, the person's gender, because the police chief was very reluctant to share any of that information. And so they had several different press conferences going on throughout the day. And at the press conference yesterday evening, it was their last one of the day, after they had announced it was actually a 15-year-old female, the Madison police chief, this is Sean Barnes, he was subsequently asked after his update about early rumors that the shooter may be transgender because, of course, because of what we have seen over the last 2 years or so, because of what we have seen transpire in other places, the fact that either we find out that the person is, in fact, trans, or there are indicators that they are, and then all of a sudden it goes radio silent and nobody wants to answer the question. And so he's asked this, and it was a very bizarre moment to me. In fact, I clipped this and put it out, and then Libs of TikTok retweeted, and then there was Daily Mail articles about it, and then everyone was talking about it because I'm like, guys, this is really, really strange. Instead of, when asked this question, accurately describing, her as she, he used multiple pronouns just in case, I guess. Watch.
Chief, there's been a lot of misinformation online, including from prominent Moms for Liberty activists in Wisconsin, claiming that the shooter was transgender, which is a reaction that we see across the country in wake of mass shootings, to claim that trans people are dangerous. Can you respond to that directly in regards to this?
Yeah, I don't know whether Natalie was transgender or not. And quite frankly, I don't think that's even important. I don't think that's important at all. I don't think that whatever happened today has anything to do with how she or he or they may have wanted to identify. And I wish people would kind of leave their own personal biases out of this. We have people who showed up to work today to help kids be better who are not going home. And we have lost members of our community who are children, including the shooter. So whether or not she was, he was, they were transgender is something that may come out later. But for what we're doing right now, today, literally 8 hours after a mass shooting in a school in Madison, it is of no consequence at this time.
All right. I mean, if it's of no consequence at this time, why do you feel it necessary to make sure not to offend the killer of innocent people? Is like, I don't want to offend this person, so I'm just going to use all the she or he or they, which, by the way, is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in policing, specifically when you are trying to identify a suspect. When you're trying to, it's very important to use precise language when working in policing and trying to identify people. You can't say they when you're talking about a singular freaking person. Okay? True. But this police chief feels the need to make sure to include all different gender pronouns just in case. And so I want to get into what we know and what there is left to find out here. And by the way, I'm not jumping straight to this person was a transgender person. I'm just saying it's very strange. And we don't know who to trust now, because if you have a police community who is not willing to just say she, or is not just willing to say, we have had no evidence to show that she was transgender, I don't know what you're talking about, and leave it at that, that's suspect to me. And that's what starts these conspiracy theories. Okay. So what we know there, as I mentioned, there's 3 dead, a substitute teacher, a student, and the shooter, Natalie Rupnow, who allegedly goes by the name Samantha as well. Not sure why, but that is what she goes by. That's what we know at this time. 6 injured, 1 teacher, 5 students, 2 in critical condition. And so she opened fire inside a classroom during a study hall filled with students from different grades. At 10:55, 10:57, a second grader was actually the first to call 911 to report the shooting. God bless her. 11 a.m., 3 minutes later, the first officer arrived on the scene, apparently went right in. Unlike the tragedy here in Uvalde, 11:05, they located the shooter and recovered the weapon. And 1 p.m., SWAT teams began searching her residence. Now, she had transferred into the school just this year. The weapon was a handgun. She, as I mentioned before, died on the way to the hospital from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And they say that her parents are cooperating. Now, here's where it gets a little bit strange. She appeared to have a fascination and obsession with school shooters. She actually took a selfie in the mirror in a KMFDM shirt, which is a German industrial band, which also happens to be the exact same shirt that Eric Harris was photographed wearing, one of the Columbine killers. So coincidence, perhaps. The more we find out about her, no, it doesn't seem like it was a coincidence. And so she was also photographed in the same shirt while firing a rifle at a target range from her father's Facebook post. By the way, I'm not saying any of that is incriminating because people are allowed to take their children to target ranges. It is not against the law. I'm not saying he did anything wrong at this time by doing that. But she also went by the handle CrossIXIR on social media. Here's her DeviantArt profile. And at the very bottom there, it says they, them. Again, all we know is what we know. Do you trust the police to tell you the truth? Because they're like, we don't know. But like you might find out that she, he, they is transgender later. All we're telling you is that it actually doesn't matter. I would say it matters a hell of a lot considering the history that we have of that particular community getting very angry and shooting innocent people. So then you have her Tumblr account. It's a picture of 18-year-old Russian mass murderer Vladislav Rozlakov, who on October 17th, 2018, killed 20 people and wounded 67 others before committing suicide. This was Russia's deadliest school shooting since 2004. On her social media, she's got, the same CrossIXIR shown displaying a handgun in a meme saying, "Happy birthday to me." So I just want to before we get into this alleged manifesto, I do want to point out, could that username be nothing? Sure. XIR is also a gender identity now, right? Zer. Is that how you say it? Yeah. Sir, Zer, however you say it. That is one of those now. And it does use the words crossy. Crossi. I don't know if that is relevant, but I think that it's worth mentioning. I also would like to reiterate, this has been reported as her DeviantArt profile with the pronouns they, them. The police chief says that doesn't matter. I tend to think that it does.
Yeah, absolutely. And it matters because of what we saw in Nashville with the shooting there and the subsequent cover-up of that manifesto that, for some reason, the law enforcement authorities didn't want to disseminate to the public. Maybe it was showing that this ideology drives people crazy or drives them to violence. And that's why people jumped on this so quickly. That did happen, and we all remember it, and it was a terrible tragedy. I think this person's clearly, I don't know if they're transgender or what, but it seems like she was, at least from parts of the manifesto that I was reading, that she was driven by resentment of her parents. It's a very leftist trait, by the way, so I don't know if that's trans, but that's hating your parents is kind of like the driving factor of leftism. Yeah. And addition to that, I think this kind of just shows how social media can drive people crazy, and you cannot allow young kids to have this much access to social media and all of the internet because they start to look up school shooters and then begin to idolize them from different social media things that they find deep in the obscure corners of the internet. So I think it's just a tragedy. Any time there's a shooting like this is terrible. The last thing I will say is I don't know why every Christian institution in this country does not have armed security guards.
Don't even get me started.
They're clearly under attack and being targeted. You need to protect your people. And I'm sorry, I know some people don't like guns, but you're going to have to protect yourself or, sadly, more things like this can occur.
Yeah, regardless of whether you like guns, it doesn't really matter at this point, right? It doesn't matter because clearly you guys are being targeted. We are being targeted. And all you can do is use the guns to make sure that you are proactive rather than reactive, and you wait for the police to show up, and then something like this could happen. So you mentioned the manifesto. Let's go through a little bit of that, which, by the way, again, does not mention anything related to transgenderism. I would like to be clear that at least from what we have seen and what has been not confirmed by police to be the manifesto, but allegedly this person had a Twitter account, had an X account. Yeah. posted a picture from the bathroom stall that morning, right? So presumably before she went to go commit these heinous acts, and then linked before she went to go do that, linked a Google Doc that she had set to private, which is just, it's like,
Amateur.
I hope you take that to hell.
Yeah.
You screwed that up. I hope you take that to hell, you know? But allegedly she had an online boyfriend who had access to the manifesto, and Canadian journalist Anna Slatz, who is the editor and co-founder of Redux, published 2 pages of her manifesto. And so this is from this, again, this is what it's reported to be. Police haven't confirmed that, but they also won't confirm like a simple fact of what gender she is. So like, take that for what it is. All right. It says, I'm glad to be different and not the same as other people. I know how to be formal. I know how to use my words. Even if I get mad at you, there has always been a reason, whether or not I despise you or just because I can. Some of you guys really do deserve the execution punishment, rather painful or not. You deserve to be dead, but yet doesn't the whole world deserve that? And then it went on to state, you know, she had a lot of resentment towards her father. To Logan's point, she implied that he was an alcoholic. Her parents had divorced multiple times. She said her mother struggled with drug addiction. She had an incredible amount of resentment towards her parents for whatever reason. I'm sure we'll find out soon.
Yeah, it's such a unfortunate story. It broke, and we're all trying to figure it out, what happened. Now, I do want to say that I don't think anybody's unreasonable. If we are going to be open about talking about demographics in this country, which we should be, it shouldn't be anything that people are afraid to talk to. I don't care if it lumps you in with so-and-so people, but I think pattern recognition is a very real thing.
So true.
Yeah.
And for people to want to know, look, did this have anything to do with it, how they identified and all that, especially, look, maybe you have that, you have that going for you when you're not dealing with a Christian school, okay? Yeah. But when you're dealing with a Christian school and then you have this type of individual that wants to go air the place out, well, yeah, of course, people's minds are going to go, well, does this have something to do with them ideologically, and were they sort of acting that out, right? Mm-hmm. So really, the target isn't just simply, okay, the school that this person went to, it's what it represents, right? And that very much could be the case. I don't know. I'm not saying that is the case, but I just want people to understand that nobody's unreasonable for trying to figure that out. So when the police chief says something like, well, that doesn't matter, yep. I disagree vehemently. Yep. I think that it absolutely does matter. And if it's not the case and it's just a girl that was deranged, all right. That's fine.
Every detail about this person matters.
That's perfectly fine. But to think that just doesn't matter at all, especially when it comes to preventing things like this happening again, I think it's very important that we break it all the way down. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter who it offends. Doesn't matter who implicates. Doesn't matter any of that. That's the part that's not necessarily important. We just need to get to the real and get down to it. Ultimately, this is an absolute tragedy. Mm-hmm. When the story first broke, and I'm hearing some young person, and you hear this potential, look, it's the manifesto. If it is, I don't know. Either way, this whole having resentment towards your I guess your parents of all people, really, I think does speak to some of the other issues that we need to really address in this country of parenting, and the type of individuals that you're bringing up, especially with these broken families, because that was what was specifically attributed to some of the things that she was griping about, if this is the actual manifesto. But yeah, having these young people, you bring up a fantastic point with having these young people acting freely kind of online. That is the absolute rabbit hole. And if you aren't carefully monitoring, I know you can speak to that as a parent, carefully monitoring that, you risk some crazy things happening, because that was absolutely no accident. Her wearing that shirt, this ain't, I don't know, some popular, regular, random band. And no, that was on purpose. Yes. Okay, let's be completely honest. That she was wearing that. You got to be careful. You need to know what they're consuming. As we look at it right there, you need to know what they're consuming at all times and ring the alarm if you must, because when it gets out of hand, oftentimes it's too late.
She had gifs of Adam Lanza just all on her, her Tumblr account and stuff. It's like, how do you as a parent, and by the way, I know parents are
She's
now
15,
like,
right? Again,
yes, 15.
That's
I know,
really young.
I know parents are now like, there's a precedent that parents are being charged. And I don't think that parents should be charged in every particular situation. I think that that should be an extremely rare situation. But really, just as a common sense parenting thing, like how does this girl have all of these different social media accounts, a Tumblr account where she's posting creepy, gifs of Adam Lanza, who was the Sandy Hook shooter, and, all of these weird guns. And, to Eric's point, she's like got the same shirt as a Columbine killer. And it's like, you really are not paying attention to your child, because that's way too many social media accounts with very weird, like, uncomfortable, antisocial, whatever you want to call it, behavior and evidence for you to just turn a blind eye. So it's just like, this is how that happens, is just unfettered access to social media and parents not monitoring their children. I'm not saying that the parent bears responsibility for this particular shooting, because there's like not enough evidence that has come out to make me say that. But I am saying, just guys, pay attention to what your kids are doing, just as a general rule. It's sad that we have to say that. Yeah, it's sad that we have to say that, but I feel like we do. So I just read this. Officials said they are looking to a combination of factors to explain why she opened fire on her school, and that they couldn't comment on a specific. They say, I wish they wouldn't, on the specific trigger is how it's written. It is believed that bullying may have been a factor. Okay. Well, that's what they say. So let's go ahead and let's do this. Let's take a quick break. And then when we come back, I want to go through the left's response to this. And it's like every other page out of their playbooks, completely predictable, but let's go through it anyway, just so that you guys can be reminded of exactly what we are up against. But first, we want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Mobile. So Patriot Mobile, I love the folks over at Patriot Mobile. Glenn and Jenny Story, the founders, are some of my very good friends. They are the greatest people you will ever meet, and they really are engaged in the parallel economy, okay? There are very few companies like Patriot Mobile that still believe in America, believe in our Constitution, believe in our founding documents, but they are one of them. And not only that, they are on the front lines fighting for the First and Second Amendments, the sanctity of life, and our military and first responder heroes. So here's what I'm telling you to do. Go to their website. They have the same nationwide coverage you're already getting. Okay. They've got 5G connection. You can port your number. You can get a new one. There's no contract. And odds are when you go there, you're going to find out that they're also going to save you money. So there's no reason not to go check them out. Go to patriotmobile.com/Sarah. Get a free month when you use the offer code Sarah. Hey, this can be a Christmas present, guys. Okay. If you're looking for that next great gift for your family member, support conservative causes and stop funding the big left, big mobile, okay, by going to patriotmobile.com/Sarah. Before we get into the left's response, I want to remind you guys to subscribe if you're watching this and you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel. Make sure that I'm going to do my Tim Pool impression. Smash the like button. Or you can gently tap it. We like a gentle tapping here at Sara Gonzales Unfiltered from time to time. Or you can just smack it around. I don't really care how you do it. Okay, just make sure that you hit the like button and comment. It'll help us in the algorithm, which we all know is stacked against conservatives, specifically our channel, because we've been demonetized for going on a year and a half, 2 years now with no end in sight. So we're making $0. All we can ask for is that you subscribe and like our video. All right, so let's get into the left's response. Just so predictable. Joe Biden, you may have thought that he was dead. He hasn't been around, okay? He isn't. He actually was around enough to release, well, it is a statement, so who knows who actually wrote it. But of course, here it is. Congress must pass common sense gun safety laws, universal background checks, a national red flag law, a ban on assault weapons, and high capacity magazines. As they always say, without any of the facts to try to explain why those laws would have helped in this situation. Guess what? It wouldn't have made a difference, like all of these other ones, all of these terrible tragedies in the past that they tried to use to enact gun control. Universal background check wouldn't have done any good. A 15-year-old is too young to buy a gun. Already too young for it. Cannot have a point of sale background check. Okay. That would not have stopped this. Ban assault weapon in high capacity magazines. It was a handgun. That also wouldn't have anything to do with it. Okay. And by the way, just for good measure, Joe Biden also called for an assault weapons ban when a 15-year-old killed 5 with a shotgun in October 17th of this year, 16th rather, in Raleigh, North Carolina. Wouldn't have done anything. That doesn't, it's like they repeat the same mantra every single time without looking at the facts, because the fact of the matter is they don't care about your safety. They just want the control.
Yep.
Period.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, this is a straight up, I mean, it's basically a communist playbook. Their idea, the left is not against gun violence. What you saw with the shooting of the healthcare CEO, the left was celebrating that. They were saying that was a good thing against some evil villain because they don't like the healthcare industry or something that Obama actually set up for them. So, they love gun violence. They just
hold on. I love that you mentioned that this is like we're living in Obamacare times.
Yeah.
So if they want to be pissed about it, they can be pissed at their Lord and Savior Barack Obama.
It's none of it is coherent at all. But they do love gun violence. They love violence against their enemies. It does not matter if it's done with a gun. It's an assault rifle. Their ideal vision of America is disarming law-abiding gun owners while letting illegal gangs of Venezuelans terrorize your neighborhood with guns. That is what they want. So you have to understand they're disingenuous. Also, I'm pretty sure Joe Biden just pardoned Hunter Biden for breaking gun laws. So how does that work? None of it makes sense at all. It's just clearly a power grab, and I think people are starting to catch on to this. What they have done to this country, I don't care. These people are evil. They will never get my guns, like, ever. Not going to happen.
No, never. And to Logan's point, Eric, I was reading a poll that said 41% of it was young people. So whatever the 18 to 25 or however it was the youngest
It was 18
category.
to 29, I think.
29. 41% of them approved of this United Healthcare CEO being assassinated, and 40% disapproved. So more of them approved of cold-blooded assassination of, I mean, I would say an innocent. I don't know. I didn't see that he broke any laws. There was nothing on the record to show that he did. But more of them approve of that than disapprove.
Well, look, they don't care about being consistent on the issue. You bring up a great point. It's not a virtue. It's not anything that they value. It's not part of their morals to be consistent on something, right? They just say whatever's advantageous to them at the time, right? So if it means being in opposition to guns, great. But if that was, let's say, yesterday, right, and they needed to be pro-gun or pro-violence in that case, they will absolutely do that, as we've already seen. So they want to inconvenience, destroy their ideological enemies, right? They want to cripple their ideological enemies. So anything that they think impacts folks like ourselves, well, that's great, right? If it means disarming us, that's great. That was some pre-written BS, right? Just like they were waiting on the next shooting so they could put that stuff out, because it's just a default, right? It's saying a bunch of stuff that was completely irrelevant to this particular shooting. Like, you bring up all the points about this was a handgun. This had nothing to do with assault weapons, high capacity. What does that mean? Let them define that. Anyway, like, is it 12 rounds? Like, how many? What is high capacity?
What is an assault weapon?
Yeah, what is that? Exactly.
The whole point of guns is to kill. That's the whole point.
But they
to assault.
They have no idea what they are talking about with any regards to this situation, but they don't care. That's to their base, right? That's to everybody else. Like, hey, we want to disarm you, and we're gonna our base would prefer that we disarm you and to inconvenience you and telling you and the felons and stuff overnight if that's what it meant. So they do want you dead. I'm glad you brought up that, because I was gonna go there anyway with the whole CEO thing. I even had. It was some people that I don't want to say they aren't leftists. Where they are, I don't really know what to call them, but there were some folks that also gripe at the healthcare industry that were a little, let me just say this. It wasn't exclusively people that champion themselves as like leftists that were pro or had zero empathy for some father getting killed because he was the CEO of a damn insurance company. And we talked about it last time on the show. Just the sheer ignorance, right? So when you see something like that, like this percentage breakdown, I wonder what the breakdown would be if you asked all these people to define the difference between health insurance and health care.
They couldn't.
They couldn't do it.
No.
These guys have no idea what they're talking about, but it is a narrative that it's kind of often regurgitated, and it's easy, right? Oh, the big capitalists at the very, very top, they're the folks that we should be mad at. He was a representative of that, and therefore him being off is a good thing.
Right.
And like I've said before, people need to be careful with that stuff, because if that was you, if that was me, if that was Sarah that got off, it'd be the same exact reaction. They will find some reason to justify us being off, saying we had it coming, or either we deserved it because of where we were ideologically and what we believed in. These are very, very, very dangerous people, and they try to weasel their way around just flat out calling for the murder of their ideological enemies with this certain language. But just look at how they react when things like the CEO being off happens. That tells you everything that you need to know about these
1,000%. All right, we've got to take a quick break. We will be back with more. First, we want to thank our sponsor of this segment, Select Quote. So everyone needs life insurance. Speaking of insurance, whether you need, it's a very important thing. Okay.
Yeah, speaking of.
Timely ad.
It's like, I'm trying real hard not to make this awkward, all right? Whether you need $500,000 or maybe $50 million if you're that lucky. Eric probably,
I knew you about. Some tell me you were about to go there. Some tell me you about to go there.
He's really rich and he's a millionaire. I don't know why he shows up here anymore, but he probably needs the $50 million in coverage. Okay, so Eric, this one's for you.
Gotcha.
Select Quote can help you find the perfect policy. They are one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. Now, what they're going to do is, a lot of life insurance brokers are going to give you a one-size-fits-all, very impersonal policy that might cost you more, might cover you less, but it's okay because it's a one-size-fits-all. They don't have to do the work. They've actually got licensed insurance agents that are going to tailor a life insurance policy for your individual needs in as little as 15 minutes. By the way, if you have pre-existing health conditions, you're worried you might not get through, go talk to them anyway. They partner with carriers that provide policies for a variety of health conditions. Go talk to them. There is no excuse not to have life insurance for your family. Okay. Head to selectquote.com. A licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget over at selectquote.com/Sarah. Get the right life insurance for you for less. Selectquote.com/Sarah to get started. There are certain members of, I don't even want to say the Republican Party because I don't even consider myself to be a member of the Republican Party, but there are certain conservatives out there who say that we should stop talking about January 6th. January 6th happened a long time ago, and it was 2021, and we need to move on. Well, I disagree, because we need to enact revenge for January 6th, 2021. And so I'm not going to let it go. And I'm going to constantly sound the alarm on the level of just corrupt entrapment and just corrupt, just total evil criminals these people are, specifically on the J6 committee. They manipulated video. They deceptively edited video. They left out parts of transcript. I mean, what I believe was that they committed crimes. And apparently the Committee on House Administration Subcommittee on Oversight, God, why are these so long? Is that real? Did you guys get that right? The Committee on House Administration Subcommittee on Oversight. Guys, y'all have got to get these. Yeah, they need to be. That does not roll off the tongue.
in there.
Doge. Yeah. Let's see. CHAS. CHASO. That's what I'm calling it. Committee on House Administration Subcommittee on Oversight. CHASO. They say top members of the January 6th Select Committee should face investigation, including Liz Cheney. So let's go ahead and pull up that. Yep. Army Secretary, Pentagon stymied National Guard on January 6th. Inspector General covered it up, according to this new report. So they say that the Pentagon dismissed an order from President Donald J. Trump to use the National Guard to ensure safety, which we all know that they did. Donald Trump has said for years that he did. And we'll get into who denied that. But they intentionally delayed the Guard deployment for hours. They lied about it to congressional leaders. They used its own inspector general to cover it all up. And so the Oversight Committee, according to their report, They said that the blame is on former Army Secretary Ryan McCarthy, 2 Pentagon Army generals, Acting Defense Secretary Chris Miller, and Chairman of the subcommittee, Representative Barry Loudermilk, who I know has worked alongside our very own Steve Baker on a lot of uncovering January 6th. He said, over the past 24 months of this investigation, my subcommittee staff have faced incredible obstacles in pursuit of the truth. Missing and deleted documents, hidden evidence, unaccounted for video footage, and uncooperative bureaucrats. And of course, you guys recall that Nancy Pelosi, we didn't see for almost 4 years. This is probably 3.5 years until we saw a video of Nancy Pelosi admitting that she was responsible for the National Guard not being there. She's literally like, I take responsibility. It wasn't me. Watch.
You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
No, that is not a question of how they had been. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
I take responsibility. Well, doesn't that contrast and contradict their narrative? But they don't want to talk about that. Liz Cheney, there was witness tampering. She was accused of colluding with witness Cassidy Hutchinson. Remember, she was the one who was like, oh, he took the wheel. He took the wheel from the Secret Service driver and tried to grab and turn the steering wheel in the middle. And the Secret Service was like, that didn't happen. And then they left it out. I mean, the entire thing stinks to high heaven. Every single piece and facet of all of this is just absolutely incorrect. And not only did they drag Donald Trump through the mud for 4 years, there are also, remember, people imprisoned over all of this narrative.
Yep.
And so people say, you should stop talking about it. I'm not going to stop talking about it because we can't stop talking about it until there is some sort of justice against the people who perpetrated this narrative.
There has to be accountability. I'll tell you one thing I'm very tired of are reports and strongly worded letters and investigations showing that Democrats or these deep state bureaucrats committed crimes. I'm tired of it. We've had this is all that's happened. The January 6 people were put through police state tactics. These were political prisoners, pure and simple. They were meant to send a message to the rest of the country that if you protest what our evil leaders are doing in Washington, D.C., they will destroy you. They will ruin your life. And we just cannot put up with this anymore. There has to be people that go to prison for what they have done to this country. It's plain and simple. Like, it's just that simple. There's no other option. You cannot play nice with these people. You can't assume like, oh, we're just going to restore the blindness of the rule of law. No, none of this. You have to reciprocate what is being done to you.
Amen.
Look, it is an absolute travesty. I know we talked about it several times, and I remember those conversations that we had on the other show vividly after it. When this whole thing went down, we said that it stinked. I know I was really a proponent of it. I remember going back and forth with people because I knew it stunk. And it really, the big story was the whole Brian Sicknick lie. Like, they lied.
They still lie about it.
Yeah,
it all was a lie. Everything was
the whole damn thing was a lie. But that was one of the more obvious ones because they were trying to basically justify anything that they were going to do to this and calling it this mob and all this other stuff because they could then say that someone on this side murdered someone else. Never happened. There was someone that did get killed there, but it was y'all that did it. Not.
By the way, we found out, our very own Steve Baker released a report that we found out that the officer that did murder Ashley Babbitt shouldn't have even been there because he had enough disciplinary actions that he should have already been terminated. Inexplicably, he was still on the force and he made the decision to shoot.
There you go. So it does stink. And there's folks that obviously we know personally that have gone to prison or are about to go to prison over this absolute nonsense and this lie. Look, I do personally believe if they could not, let's say, incriminate in some case either Donald Trump's and his base and or his base, they wouldn't be so aggressive like they were, right? That was their opportunity. They saw it, and I don't want to say to their credit, it seems obvious that they were going to do that. They took advantage of it, and if it meant lying to the American people, that was exactly what they were going to do, to try to perpetuate some nonsense that you guys are the crazy ones. Because keep in mind, and we talked about it on the old show,
They said this was worse than the Civil War.
the thing is, well, yeah, they did. They were saying that this was
worse than Pearl Harbor.
It was worse than everything.
9/11.
It was worse than everything. And then more information keeps coming out, and you find out, well, they lied about that. They lied about this guy being killed by these people. Everything was a damn lie. It was a sham. The people weren't, AOC and all of them weren't even anywhere near this. They in a completely different damn building, hiding under desk and
pathetic leaders.
and all,
so embarrassing.
all sorts of things, right? Like these clowns had, they lied about everything. They lied about absolutely everything, and they didn't care. So that's why I think, especially if you were their opposition, if you see that they didn't take it lightly with you,
Right.
and your folks,
Right.
okay? They put you in prison,
Right.
and they had no problem doing it,
Right.
You can't just be like, oh, well, we're going to dap up, we're going to forget about it, we're going to go about our business, right? That's how you lose,
Yeah.
right? And it's the same thing with COVID. I'm like, why aren't all these people in prison?
know.
We're just going to forget about it. It's just like, sponsors were running away free, and everybody that lied about that and sold that lie to so many people that have businesses go under, and nobody's in prison.
Yeah.
Because they want you to just forget about it. And the left takes they're good at this, so good at this. They take advantage of these like sort of arbitrary rules that they know that they themselves will not follow, but they know it's a standard that you care
we
about,
have, yep.
and they will hold you
We
to it.
care about the rule of law.
Right. They'll
They
hold
don't.
you to it.
Yep.
Right. They won't hold themselves to
Yep.
it by any means, but
Yep.
they will hold each and every one of you to it. So if it's about
No one is above the law.
but
How many times did they say
yeah,
that?
that's what they said. But seriously,
Except us.
if
We
you-
thought that was a given.
if it's about like taking your dubs and winning, right? You can't just let it go by the wayside.
It's not a win until you make sure that they pay for their actions,
That's-
which, by
that's
the way, I
bottom
just
line.
want to point out, I'm not saying imprison innocent people. I'm saying they're not innocent.
It's actual justice.
Right,
This
like
is what
they-
actual justice will look like. Prison at minimum, by the way.
Yes, exactly right. All right, we got to take another quick break. We'll be right back. Oh, sorry. First, we've got to thank our sponsor. I'm already on vacation. We got to thank our sponsor, Angel Studios, who they are coming out with a new movie. It's called Homestead. Guys, if you got family coming into town or you're going to go visit family, this is a great thing for you guys to go watch all together, because this is our favorite movie studios. They're woke free. All right. They're creating woke free, family friendly movies, similar to what Eric's doing. Is like, it's woke
they're
free.
fans of us. We big shout out to the brothers over there at Angel Studios. Good people, man.
That's great. That's all. I didn't realize that you knew each other.
Yeah,
That's
they
awesome.
were you mentioned Timcast not too long ago. They was like, oh, we love to work with the Rippaverse when they were talking about it.
I
So
love that.
Big shout out to those guys.
Yeah.
I love it too. Hit me up, man.
That's
Maybe
the
we'll make
thing.
something
We
happen.
got to support the parallel economy with the Rippaverses and the Patriot Mobiles and, of course, Angel Studios. So they make it very easy to do because they make really great movies that you can go see with your family. So this one in particular, it's about a nuclear blast that devastates Los Angeles, throwing the nation into chaos. Oh, no. That would be terrible. And an ex-Green Beret and his family seek refuge at the Homestead, a doomsday fortress in the mountains. So he goes, he's all of a sudden with all these preppers and he's like, what the heck's going on? So it's really, really great. Go take your family over the holidays. It's in theaters December 20th. You can get your tickets now at angel.com/Sarah. That is angel.com/Sarah. A friend of the show, investigative journalist James O'Keefe over at OMG, O'Keefe Media Group, released another expose, this time shedding light on something we all know is going on, but it's just really fascinating to hear the left admit to it, Joe Biden's mental decline. So he spoke with Henry Apple. He's advisor of intelligence programs directorate in the National Security Council. And I want to play this man talking about, Joe Biden's brain dead, basically. Watch.
Joe Biden is like dead. Not literally. Like he can't just say a sentence.
Can't say a sentence.
He's like really like progressed in his holding. Everybody recognized. I can't believe it wasn't a bigger scandal earlier.
Really? You can't? It's almost like we were saying these things before he even got elected and you guys chose to ignore it, and you had mainstream media carrying his water and claiming that everything was fine until he was on a national stage in the debate, and then all of a sudden you guys were like, oh, what happened? It turns out he's forgetful, I guess. And so let me play a few more of these guys, and then I want your reaction. Here is this man talking about how Joe Biden has like no memory anymore, which of course, again, we all know, but it's nice to see them admit it.
A couple weeks ago, I was like the last one in the office, and he called from my boss. And so I picked the phone and said, hello, Mr. President, like, it's Henry on Jake's phone. He's left for the day, but I can try to get him on the line for you. And he like asked me some questions, and I was like, I don't know, like, let me track him down, and I'll call his Secret Service detail, and we'll get him on the phone. He said, no, it's okay, I'll like call his, like, because he called me on the classified phone. It's like, I'll try his like unclassified phone, like, and then he called, and then I was like, okay, well, let me know if you have any trouble. And then like 10 seconds later, same phone. I picked it up again, and I was like, hi again, it's Henry. He was like, is Jake there? And I was like, no, you called the same office, like, let me call the Secret Service detail for you. So I did.
Guys, I'm so happy that Donald Trump will be sworn in on January 20th. I'm so happy about that. But just with the January 6th stuff, we can't let this go unchecked. I mean, this man was in severe cognitive decline his entire presidency, and they just replaced him at the last minute, but only on the ticket for January, and they let the guy continue running the show for the end of the year until January 19th. How is that that is one of the biggest scandals I've ever heard. And they just want to like joke about it and forget about it. And I'm like, I mean, I will joke about it, but I'm not going to forget about it. It's like, that's a big freaking deal. They are so scared to give up power that they will let an actual vegetable just be in charge. They had the chance to replace him with Kamala. They already replaced him on the ticket. And still they were like, no, it's fine. We're almost in the middle of World War III. We've got God knows how many terrorists on our soil right now.
So true.
But you know what? Oh, by the way, there's Chinese spy balloons and drones popping up in the sky. Nobody seems to be able to they don't want to tell us what it is. And we're going to let a vegetable keep his post because why? It blows my mind.
It's a good question. I mean, Biden was always just Obama's third term, fourth term, or fifth term, however many you could say. But I think he's on our side now, so I'm not going to criticize him anymore.
You had Jill in the power red suit.
Yeah,
on
he
election day.
He has switched over. He's left the dark side. He is. I'm fairly confident he voted for Trump, and he's doing as much as he can right now to sabotage the Democrats. So they can have him. His legacy will be that he kind of rescued himself at the end there.
Okay, well then let me play one more video, and then Eric, I want to get your thoughts because this might go along with what you're saying, Logan. It may just be that he's scared that Trump is going to come after him, and so he's trying to placate Donald Trump, according to this exchange. Watch.
We're also like all kind of concerned about like them coming after us.
Like how legally or something?
He's nodding yes for those of you who are listening.
What would that look like?
I don't know, they make up like a fake scandal.
Oh, a fake scandal. Right.
And just like put you in jail.
No, not in jail. But
Then what are you worried about, bro?
or whatever.
They'd make up a fake scandal, like that man admitting on tape that Joe Biden is a vegetable and them not doing anything about it. I guess that's what a fake scandal is.
I don't know what it would look like, but yeah, there's probably a lot of people that should be in prison if we're going to get down to the nitty gritty. But seriously,
Eric,
yeah,
probably.
No, probably is giving them way too much credit. that should be in prison. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's no secret, man. And then all the political commentators finally, once it was too late, got to admit, yeah, man, he was on the decline after they sat there and lied time and time again. He's okay, he's sharper than he's ever been.
Healthy to run again.
Yeah, he's just ready to go. And it's like,
I believe they said vigor. He was full of vigor.
That's exactly what they said. He was so full of it. And it's like, yeah, he was full of it. It wasn't that, but he was full of a whole lot of stuff, and they were pumping him with everything that they could for these debates. And even then, it was very lackluster. But it goes to show, man, how willing, they are to make sure that they maintain that power, at least in some capacity. If they have to have a literal dead guy there that does not know where he's at, as long as it's not you guys, that's fine. And I think more
they rolled Jimmy Carter out to vote for Kamala.
Yeah, he was completely coherent. Completely coherent when that happened.
Not convinced me that man was alive when they took that picture.
He was really looking forward to it. Man's out of there. He's been out of there for like 5 years, man.
And they were like, and they said, they're like, he was really looking forward to it.
I'm sure.
He wasn't looking forward to anything except death.
Yeah.
Like, that man was gone. All right, gentlemen, thank you guys. Make sure you're following both of these guys on social media. Check out the Ripaverse, and we will see you guys tomorrow.